Welcome to the President's Desk on 96.9 KGPC and Peralta Television, where Laney College President Dr. Rudy Besakoff speaks with community members, colleagues, and student leaders. This program, a 2024 CC Pro Award winner, is supported by Technical Director Felicia Bridges, who co-hosts along with journalism major Randy Cross and President Dr. Rudy Besakoff.
Pull up a chair and join me, Felicia, and Randy at the President's Desk today. English for speakers of other languages, as well as support for LGBTQ plus students and colleagues, are our topics du jour today, and we are pleased to welcome Laney Queer Community Center Coordinator and Professor of ESOL, E. Wren. In and around our conversations, we'll put the spotlight, as always, on our partners of Laney and discuss ways to support the Peralta College's foundation.
Want to interact with the show? Email us at laneypodcast@peralta.edu. Like us on Facebook/Meta at Laney College President's Desk Podcast, and follow us on Instagram and X at Laney Podcast. You can also find selected interviews and content from the show on YouTube by subscribing to the Laney College President's Desk channel. Also, KGPC's YouTube channel now includes a playlist with the television version of the show, where our audiences are always welcome to subscribe and leave comments. Also, our thanks to LinkedIn Nation for supporting the show through President Besakoff's profile.
Thank you, Randy. The show airs at 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. on FM 96.9 KGPC or kgpc969.org, and can be seen Sundays from 1 to 2 p.m. on Peralta TV, which is channel 27 or 28, depending on where you live in the East Bay. Also, we are proud to welcome a new partner, KTSF Television, to our broadcast family, with our show reaching the entire Bay Area and via Zeem nationally. And it airs and is called The President's Corner on KTSF. Can't catch us any of those scheduled means, and there are lots of them, aren't there, Felicia?
Yes.
No problem. You can always just stream us anytime at kgpc969.org or hook up with us on Apple Podcasts or iHeartRadio. This is Rudy Besakoff, president of Laney College, a pillar that has been serving the greater Oakland community since 1927 and has been known as Laney now for more than 65 years. And I'm leaving this one on, and where we are proud this semester to once again be just celebrating the opening of the Laney College Queer Community Center, found on the Student Center, room 300. And later in November, big news, the Laney College Business Incubator, a resource for students, entrepreneurs, and business owners in the community, will be opening. You know, great teams are what it's all about. And I want to give a big shout out to Lolly, who's on the board today. Also, yeah, that's right. In addition to my co-hosts, Judy May in my office books guests for the show, and Raya Zion, as always, pitches in as a contributor to the President's Desk. However, getting things kicked off today is my co-host, Felicia Bridges. Felicia, how's life?
Life is doing good. I was going to say life is lifing, but no.
Life is lifing.
Life is good.
All right,
How are you?
Not too bad. So you were mentioning beforehand, somebody saw you on TV.
Yes. A friend of mine, Jane Fong, she actually works at Merit. She called me. She says, "You're on TV."
That's right.
And she sent me screenshots, and she even filmed the actual TV of me. So I think that's pretty cool, I guess.
No, just,
Very cool.
I think, I just over the years, we've partnered with KTSF Television, and we're presented this opportunity. 4 o'clock Sundays, the whole Bay Area can tune in and see the goings on right here in this wonderful, comfortable simulcast studio. Mm-hmm. So it's great. So also hoping that he is comfortable, I want to welcome to the program Professor E. Wren. Professor Wren, I just always like to start off with a question. Last interesting thing you saw on TV?
On TV, I am not a TV person.
Okay.
But I'm a movie person.
All right, so last movie.
Right, so I participated in the Mill Valley Film Festival, and I saw 2 great movies last Saturday. One is directed by my favorite director, Hong Sang-soo, a director from South Korea, and this is his latest movie called A Traveler's Needs. And the second film that I saw at the BANFA in Berkeley, I hope that I'm pronouncing the name right, is The Phony. It's a documentary. So the movie won the Golden Bear at the Berlin Film Festival this year, and The Traveler's Need won the Silver Bear this year. Yeah,
Wow.
so I saw two great movies.
Sounds like they're chasing each other.
Yeah, and they made a mistake. Yes, like the host was saying that A Traveler's Need won the Golden Bear instead of the Silver Bear. Yeah. So, well, that's okay.
I've been to premieres before where a movie was shown and like the actor or actress was in the audience. So I've seen that. And I remember the movie Dragon about Bruce Lee, where he was in a premiere in Hong Kong and they carried him on people's shoulders out of the theater. What's it like going to a film festival?
Well, the Mill Valley Film Festival is very low key.
Okay.
Like everybody can participate. But if you're talking about like Cannes Film Festival, Berlin Film Festival, and Venice Film Festival, like you can't get in unless you work in the business. You know, you can get like those vouchers if you're a director, actors, like filmmakers. If you're an audience, you have to wait in line for hours and hours to get a ticket. You also have to dress very nicely.
Okay.
Because
So it's not enough to show up at Mill Valley and say, I'm kind of a big deal. That's not going to get it done. Okay.
No.
That's what I'm hearing. Well, this has been an exciting semester, Professor Wren. And could you just tell us just about the newest addition to the third floor of the Laney Student Center?
Right. So the Queer Community Center, aka the QCC, is the newest addition to the Laney College, the Student Services Department in particular. And you can find us in Student Center, room 300. And it is a space dedicated to supporting LGBTQ plus students. We're trying to provide a safe space for them to be able to express themselves, find resources, and just to grow academically and personally.
In addition to Laney College, I know you filled a similar role at USF. How did that inform really the groundbreaking work you're doing for us?
Yeah, so during the pandemic, I worked for the Center for Asia Pacific Studies, and I was their like media creator, and I worked as a community like building event planner, and then later on I picked up a gig, so I served as a coordinator under the cultural centers, and I was planning events for queer students as well at USF. I think I've learned a lot about like community building, curriculum building, like connecting among different departments, and I'm bringing all of that I learned from USF to Laney as well.
So at USF, did you start the programs from scratch there?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
So it was already established?
Correct. Yeah. That's why I'm learning from like other people. Mm-hmm.
But you did start from scratch here?
Yes, he did.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did it open?
I guess I get to start with the answer. So going back to spring semester, we were looking at resources to support because for many years at Laney, we've had something called the Lavender Project, which has been a network of colleagues as well as students coming together and then also just talking about areas of needing support. And one thing that was very apparent was that just as we have a center for Umoja, just as we have our Latinx Center, APAS, and a number of those things, having a similar center to support students and colleagues who've carried on the tradition of the Lavender Project was critical. And in the spring, we identified that as a project and actually put out a call for applications to see if someone wanted to step up and be the coordinator. Lucky for us, he stepped up.
Yay.
And maybe at this point you can continue the story.
Yeah, and I had a great conversation with the president and the former VP of Student Services. And then later on, I was hired and I just started reading the grants and like I'm trying to really build a space that like serves our students, but at the same time meets the criteria right under the grant that we're getting. And to starting a new program, a new center, is very exciting, but at the same time challenging as well, right? And I feel like it really requires a lot of groundwork. And I was reading a lot of grants, and I really studied a lot of like programs that other universities and colleges were doing. And I wrote like a 20-page proposal, like from
I remember reading it.
Right, like from the programs that I was going to do. and to the logo designing, to the floor plan, the furniture, like the decorations. I really poured my heart into this space, and I'm calling this center my baby as well.
I know it looks really nice. I can imagine how inviting and warm it is.
And what are the hours that it's open?
Yeah, so currently we're open from Monday to Thursday. So Monday is 11 to 4. And Tuesday is like 11:30 to 1 because I have a class to teach. But we're going to hire another student worker pretty soon. So we're hoping to open all 5 days from 11 to 4. However, I sent out a survey last week to all the center goers. And they're thinking that the best time to have programs is anytime between 11 to 1 and 4 to 5. So we're going to extend our hours.
That's fantastic. You mentioned looking at other centers, other colleges, their practices, kind of the groundwork that you laid. What were some recommended or best practices that you brought to Laney?
I think something that I learned, but at the same time, I identified a gap is the collaboration among departments. Because oftentimes I feel like a lot of like gender center or like sexuality center that are working on their own. There's a lack of collaborations and partnership with other programs. And I learned that a lot from USF as well. And that's why I really want to step up and really put us closer among departments. Like we partner with the Wellness Center and the mental health department already, where we have our monthly like Mindful Monday program where we're inviting therapists over and to have a group session with LGBTQ students. I also reach out to all 4 colleges, like the LGBTQ plus professors and faculty members. I really want to form a mentorship program. I want to have 101 mentorship, like one LGBTQ plus faculty member and a student. I really want them to be able to talk about their future.
Felicia, this is amazing because we've had from the ASLC, going back now a couple years, the Evolved Minds Club, the student club that focused on mental health and wellness. With Restoring Our Communities, Jesse came on and talked about We Will Rise, that club around just for people with addictions and overcoming them. And now we're hearing yet another mental health resource with this. If I'm a student and I'm listening to this and it sounds like the therapy sessions, what you're bringing in is in a group model, what would I have to look forward to if I attend one of those?
Just be prepared to share and be prepared to be vulnerable and to learn from each other's stories, because those stories that I've heard in our programs are very life-affirming and very, very, very supportive. They can really find our center a space that they can really, truly, genuinely express themselves.
Whether it's therapy or just you working with a student yourself as the coordinator, what are some things you do to really help people understand that they can be vulnerable?
By sharing stories of my own, by telling them that I am also going to be one of you. I don't really want to be authoritative and to be the teacher or the faculty member in this space. I see myself as one of them, and who is also vulnerable and who's also very brave to share my own stories.
Wow, great conversation with Professor E. Wren, and just reminding our audience that you are enjoying the President's Desk on Peralta TV, Oakland, KTSF 26, and KGPC 96.9 FM. We can also be heard online at kgpc969.org. All right, let's go back in time a little bit. The day that you had the open house and the community came out, and I just judging by the time I was there, they did come out. What was that like?
It was very, very surprising, and it was my first time hosting an event at Laney, so I was definitely nervous in the beginning. And then like more and more people came by and different departments left me with their contact information, like their flyers. I really felt a sense of a community. That was really amazing.
Anything about that day surprise you?
Some people out of Laney came by. That surprised me. Like,
For example,
there were like a few gay guys came over and they're like, hey, like we live nearby, and somehow they saw the flyers and they just decided to come by and to see if if they could volunteer. Yeah.
Sounds like that not only is the center reaching inward to students, it's also reaching outward to the community as well. So, what kind of events do you have coming up?
Right. Thank you for
what activities do you have planned?
Yeah. First of all, I just want to echo with what you just said about inward and outward. Like when I was thinking about like how do I raise awareness of our center, to other students and faculty and staff members, I really thought of that as well. Because oftentimes, like for a lot of departments, we're waiting for students to find us. I'm really trying to break this wall. I'm really trying to get us out there and to go to students instead of just having them come to us. And for the events, so this month is LGBTQ History Month. So we are having a lot of stuff going on. But we have 2 more events left for this month. So next Thursday, mark the calendar. So we're going to have a pride party on the quad. So I invited 2 drag artists to perform. It's going to be a full-on college-wide event. The Basic Needs Center is going to giving out groceries. We're going to have food, drinks, music, like cookies. And then I invited the LGBTQ Center, the Oakland LGBTQ Center, to tell us about the work they're doing. And also we're going to have an hour table there, and we're going to have performances. We're going to have great dialogue.
For our audience, that will be October 24th. The Thursday.
Yeah, that's
October,
a Thursday. Yeah, and also on the 30th, that's our very first Mix and Mingle, our mentorship program among faculty, staff, and students.
I had a question about the space. So is the space open for like you can come in and study or socialize, like what that sort of thing? Is that what it's for?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. Completely. So yeah, you can come by, you can come in anytime during our opening hours. We have 2 private rooms. You can use our desktop to study, to do homework. We have a table for group project. We have 2 couches. We have snacks. We have drinks. Please come in. You can do whatever you want, you feel comfortable with.
Randy, I have to share at the opening. They had cupcakes, other things, and then cold drinks. And I have to say I did have seconds. It was good. Biggest challenge so far?
I guess just because we're starting, I guess the biggest challenge is to raise awareness of our center. Because in the beginning, I was trying like the membership strategy, right? So I didn't have flyers all over. I had a QR code, and I sent it to a lot of people, and I hope people would sign up, but I feel like that kind of didn't work here that much. So now like flyers are all over the college. I'm trying to really branch out.
And do you have an Instagram page or social media?
Yes,
pages?
we have Instagram. Yes, and I'm sending out like a newsletter every single week.
Oh, nice.
You'll be happy to know, in addition to all of that, this show, I know I can confirm that members of my family listen, and I've actually paid a couple of Felicia's friends as well to tune in. So you've got that as an audience as well.
Call.
Yeah.
Yeah, please come.
Yeah. So you're opening a new center, getting the word out. Just what are the keys to that aspect of communication?
Just keep trying, I guess, and trying different mediums, like word of mouth, emailing, like going to classrooms. I have my student workers and like the frequent center goers to bring our posters to their classrooms and to talk with their students.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty visual. So let's just say that I walked to the entrance of the center and I had a camera and panned from left to right. What would I see?
You're going to see comfortable couches. You're going to see a table. You're going to see a lot of colors. We have a lot of posters. We have like rainbow flags. We have a floor lamp. We have a TV, a huge TV that we always put something on. And you're going to see be true, be self, slogan. You're going to see a wall of affirmation. You're going to see quotes from from different books. And you're going to see some smiley faces.
All of which I can confirm because I've already been there. So, I mentioned at the beginning of the show the Lavender Project at Laney, and I know you are relatively new to Laney. How long have you been with us now?
I think this is my third semester.
Right.
Very new.
So what's it been like interacting with folks that have been here longer?
It has been amazing. I have to say that I really, really have felt a sense of community. Like I had a lot of questions about everything, about like using our portal, questions with HR, so many questions. I feel like everybody has really, really helped me a lot. Shout out to those people.
Okay, great. And then just what's it been like interacting, for example, with student leadership?
In terms of the student organizations, I don't think I have had a chance to.
So
talk
that's
with
one
them
of your
a
next
lot.
frontiers. It sounds like.
I think so, and I have been talking with people that come into our center. We really want to start a student run like queer like club because we don't have one, but the BCC has one because someone emailed me from BCC or like they were talking about like their student led group. And then, like, we really want to start one here as well.
We'll be talking later in the show just about your work in the ESOL department. But what aspects of being a faculty member do you think have carried over into this leadership role that you've taken on?
That's a great question. I think because the research I have done is also around like queer theory and LGBT studies, I think like I'm bringing the academic side of it, right? Like every single program, like, for example, like for the Go Queer Yourself, our first theme. Okay, so context. So for the Go Queer Yourself is the art creation program where students will hear a prompt and then they just have like 30 minutes to do art, right? So every single prompt that I give them is based on literature, based on research, based on different books, right? The first prompt was past, present, and the future, and how is connected to queer love. And our second prompt for the next month is going to be self-hating, because a lot of people from marginalized groups like carry this sense of self-hating among us. I guess I'm bringing this like sense of expertise in queer theory, in LGBT studies.
Did you do a capstone project when you did your master's? Was that?
Yes. So actually my research paper was published 2 months ago. It was around Chinese queer immigrants and their like language learning journey, and they're like battling with a cultural assimilation, acculturation, and their like identity transformation.
So you have cultural assimilation added.
Yeah.
How does that compound challenges and opportunities for people?
In terms of the cultural assimilation, well, that's a good question.
And I ask it just because I've had 2 experiences myself. I was the kind of the ugly American starting to live in France for 2 years, did that. And then I was the gaijin in Japan for almost 4. So this is really fascinating.
Right. So my research paper was around like how Chinese queer immigrants like understand their or aligned with American values, and how they really internalize their Chineseness and their Americanness in relation to their queer identity. Right. In terms of opportunities, I don't know. That wasn't a topic in that paper. Yeah.
Wow. Is there anything from that experience? Because I know often when you have a master's project, a dissertation, there's often a you're focused on your own research questions and what you want to get done. But in the course of doing that, they're like, wow, there's this other question, or this is also interesting. What's coming out of your project? Were there other topics that really were of interest to you as well?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I am working on my next project, which is an extended version of my published research. And so that was around a phenomenon that I identified. I call it triple marginalization, because one of my participants had a very interesting phenomenon where he's not comfortable with his own skin, but at the same time he's rejected by his home country and culture. At the same time, as a Chinese immigrant, that he's also rejected by the Bay Area gay community. So like it really has this sense of displacement. And then I'm trying to explore more of this phenomenon with my new group of participants. And I also want to I really want to dive deeper in terms of the relationship between their Chineseness and Americanness.
Fascinating.
I was going to ask a question. It's about your research in that you talked with quite a few people and you delved into some stories. And then I was going to ask you, without you giving up any identity or names, a story that stuck out with you. But you kind of touched on that. But is there anything else that just really, any particular story that really informed your research?
Yeah, I think language is also like something that I am exploring in this project. I think something that's very, very fascinating to me is how they position themselves and whites, or like white people. And like every time when they're talking, it almost like they're queer, or they're trying to be queer, but at the same time like they're thinking of the racial organization is very, very much black and white, very much like a binary, like from like the binary, right? Like every time when they're talking, oh, I am dating an American, and I said, what do you mean that you're dating an American? And oftentimes that means white. So like to them, that only white people are American people, right? The others are the others. And this like sense of othering is very, very fascinating. And I'm definitely going to ask more of that.
I see why you're not a TV person. You're busy. I was going to ask, so how do you manage your time with being a professor and working on these projects and now running the center?
That's a very good question. I love being busy. It's like every day when I wake up, I start working, and until the time that I go to sleep, I try to do more, but I'm aware that burnout is a real thing now, and I guess I'm also a very efficient person. Like I don't like, like having those small talks. I guess I like just get to the point, right? I think that also informs the way I teach as well, like my like pedagogical choices.
I was going to ask, do you have any, like, what do you do for fun? Like any hobby?
I am a movie person.
Okay.
So I watch a lot of movies, a lot of like slow cinema, international cinema. I also like pickleball. So I do that.
Pickleball.
Yeah,
Okay.
pickleball. Yeah, and also I go to the gym sometimes because I live close to the Golden Gate Park. So I go for a run sometimes, and yeah, I'm pretty indoorsy actually.
So you live in San Francisco?
Yes, I do.
Nice.
If someone's visiting Golden Gate Park, where would you tell them to go? Just what's the highlight of that amazing place?
So my route starts with the Rose Garden, and it goes all the way to the Young Museum, and then past the Young Museum, and it goes to the end of like Fulton Street, and then comes back. That's always my route.
Wow, amazing.
Do you BART over, or what's your commute? Do you BART?
Yes, I BART.
Okay, so just if somebody comes to you and says, I'm at XYZ college, I would like to open a queer community center on my campus. From your journey, what would you advise them?
I would talk about funding first, because I think that's something that
Funding is a very interesting question, but before we get to funding specifically, I would like to remind our listeners that you are enjoying the President's Desk on Peralta TV, also at KTSF, Channel 26 around the Bay Area, and on KGPC 96.9 FM. We can also be heard online at kgpc969.org. Okay, so you started to talk about advising somebody on opening a new center, and you started to touch on funding. Could you tell us more?
Yeah, and I definitely would encourage them to connect with people from other departments because they're going to be the one to help them in every single way. And then I'll let them read my proposal because it's pretty comprehensive. I'm pretty proud of that. Yeah.
Is there support on the state level, funding-wise?
Yeah. Yes, of course.
All right. What's that been like, and how much has it helped the center?
Well, it helps with everything, right? Without the funds, the center wouldn't even be, open today.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Can you stick around for a few minutes? I'm going to do a little bit of business, and then I'd like to come back and talk to you, but just about ESOL and teaching.
Yeah, of course.
Excellent. All right. Well, as we transition at this point in the show, I'll go ahead and remind listeners that Laney College gets students needing extra support to the finish line, not only through amazing programs such as the Queer Community Center, but also through the Laney 500 Giving Campaign. Through these gifts, we support our food pantry, clothing rack, provide technology for students in need, and other support that keeps successes of the last 2 years going. Students, if you are experiencing difficulty, especially mid-semester right now, please contact my office at 510-464-3219 or send an email to Judy May, who supports my office, at jmei@peralta.edu. Also, to our employees and community members, this is just a reminder, as always, that all charitable gifts to Laney College are tax deductible and processed through the Peralta Colleges Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. If you are interested in giving, like I said, you can contact me at 510-464-3219, and I'll be glad to speak with you personally. I know often a gift is something that's very individual, whether it's equipment or money or whatever it might be. Also, there are a number of other ways to support giving beyond what my office does. And if you have any questions about the foundation, which supports not only Laney, but the other 3 Peralta colleges, please reach out directly to them at 510-587-7809 or email them at pfs@peralta.edu. Also, a final message to our employees. It is possible to donate through monthly payroll deduction. And quite honestly, if it's $3 a week, you'll be amazed to see how that adds up. If that's deducted from your paycheck each month, within a year, you've just provided tuition for a student to take 2 3-unit classes with us. If you have any questions, of course, please feel free to reach out to me. Now, also, close by, but always important to our show is Raya Zion, who provides an amazing Partners of Laney feature for this week. Felicia, on the 16th, we had Laney College OUSD Manufacturing Day at the college.
Neat.
And Emiliano Sanchez, who has been on this program, in fact, when we had our 50th anniversary show, he was the guest. He's with OUSD and an amazing partner. He brought, I want to say, 400 OUSD students to Laney College, and they got basically a run of our career and technical education programs, building and skilled trades, media, just a number of areas. It was incredible to go to the forum, and I think that's the first time I've ever seen it full to the point where there were no seats. Right. Students came. Kim Gonzalez, who's been on the show with us before, essentially did a lot to provide the welcome. Raya, of course, was there. Dean Alejandria Tomas came, and just really to hear Mr. Sanchez Emiliano call Laney College a friend to OUSD. That was one of my proud moments as a president, to hear that. And it wasn't because of me, but because of us, which was amazing.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah. So it was outstanding.
Students.
So anyway, back to our audience. If you are a prospective employer looking to hire students that are currently enrolled or graduates, please reach out to rzion at peralta.edu. That's Raya Zion's email. You can also call her at 510-464-3530. Also, if you are a student looking for a job, please reach out to Raya at that email and the phone number again, 510-464-3530. All right, let's go back to our guests. And now I'd like to get into the business of teaching a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get into, now, dinosaurs like me, we call it ESL. How'd you get into ESOL?
Well, I've always been interested in languages and like teaching and learning languages. And I started teaching English in China a long time ago. And then I also taught Chinese in different private institutions here in the States. And then like back in 2016, and that's when I really considered pursuing this as a career. And I joined a very prestigious program with Columbia University and the Beijing University of Language and Cultures, which are the top universities for language teaching. And I completed their like dual TESOL and TICSO certificates, and then I started to pursue like teaching languages.
Our audience has grown a little bit over the years, and one thing is for a lot of people who maybe, unlike you and me, did not do something like applied linguistics, which is my master's, or what you've done, still hold a bachelor's. And believe it or not, a lot of countries, if you have a bachelor's degree, no matter what it's in, you can go teach there and you can teach English. What's the experience like teaching in another country?
Well, because I also speak Chinese, so I'm pretty much, I don't consider like living in China as living in a foreign country.
Okay.
It's like I consider both places like as my home. But I guess it's challenging, but at the same time rewarding. I do have friends teaching in Taiwan, in China, in South Korea, and one of my professors like goes to South Korea, Japan, and teaching teachers there as well. But I think it's very, very beneficial for Americans to go out to really learn about other cultures.
My goodness, it's certainly informed and fortified my own life. I'd have to say that. What is one of the biggest rewards that comes with teaching elsewhere?
I guess to really understand that the world is very big and there are different ways of living, different ways of thinking about, or just different ways of approaching life. And it's going to change the way that you think about identity, you think about subjectivity, you think how our society is organized.
When you're teaching in China, what do you miss most about the Bay Area? And when you're in the Bay Area, what do you miss the most about China?
That's a very good question, because I try to go back for a month every year, and during the summer, I feel like, I feel like the way I present myself and the way I live is very different. I feel like when I'm here, like what I focused more, what I focused on more is like health, is like doing stuff, tasks. I feel like when I'm taking a vacation in China or like living in China, all I think about is food, going somewhere to have fun, right? Like going to different places and like don't think about working. It's very, very different. Yeah.
I think that being an ESOL teacher is an amazing job. And I am wondering, how do you go about teaching? Because I know I would have so much anxiety if I'm trying to share and teach a language to someone else.
I got to share this. And I don't know if you've had the same experience, but whenever I go to parties and people find out that I teach or taught ESL, the question I always get, and I have a feeling this resonates, how can you teach them English if you don't speak their language? Do you get that question? Does that come up?
Not really.
Okay. Is there kind of a misconception that people have about teaching ESOL now?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Like sometimes like it's a stigma in Asia for ESL teachers now because there are some cases actually either a lot of like ESL teachers like in college or like taking advantage of other college students. So they made the national headline or international headline in like all over Asia. So nowadays, I think ESL teachers do face a stigma, and because there's one case in particular that like he didn't even graduate high school, but somehow he got a job in China teaching English, and then he had a criminal record. And then later on, one of the parents discovered that and then reported to the school, and then the story just went big. And then just the whole like hiring process. I think some people are a little bit scared of them now. But going back to your question about teaching, I do think that's a great question. I think for me, like teaching ESL is really no different than teaching other subject because I don't like people think that teaching or learning a language is a technical skill. I feel like teaching, that's how I tell my students, right? Like oftentimes when you're learning or teaching ESL, you're teaching the skills, listening, writing, reading, speaking. And when you're teaching English, like is more about like critical thinking, more about like language development and building. I like my classroom, I really try to bridge this two. It is not about a skill. It's not about to listen to one word, to read some words. It's really about how can you use language as a medium to really express yourself, to really, really advance your thinking. That's how I approach teaching and learning a language.
Expressing yourself just in the vernacular, and the big inhibitor to that is called your affective filter.
Mm-hmm.
How do you how do you get students in a place where that affective filter comes down and they're less conscious of, oh my goodness, I hope I don't make an error, and they're more concentrated on communicating? What techniques do you use to instill that?
I guess the teaching pedagogy is a very big part. So like, how do you talk to students, and how do you approach grading? You know, a lot of students, they're so scared of getting bad grades. So what they focus on is to get grades. And then there's a movement starting from Brown University. It's called the Universal A. It goes like this. If you do the work that I'm telling you to do, I'm going to give you an A. So stop worrying about grades. Don't think about that. Because sometimes when I'm doing group project, like the other groups are not listening to the group who is presenting because they're worrying about their own presentation. And I told them, don't do that. You know, when someone is presenting, you need to listen and need to be prepared to answer and ask questions to really challenge the group who is presenting, right? And I think, so pedagogy, grading, and also class content as well. Like how can you use materials that are close enough to students, right? Like for the class that I'm teaching right now is Reading Writing 3. So we're reading a book. It's about an immigrant from Hong Kong. There are a lot of stories and moments they resonate with. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you just essentially taking grading out of the mix is what brings down that affective filter, going back to my question to a great degree.
I think that's a part of it. That's definitely a part of it.
What is your degree in?
So I have two masters. My first master is an MFA in film and acting, and my second master is in international and multicultural education. I'm finishing up my doctorate degree next May, also in education as well.
Oh, and don't forget, you are enjoying the President's Desk on Peralta TV, Oakland KTSF 26, and KGPC 96.9 FM. We can also be heard online at kgpc969.org.
All right, you mentioned your doctorate. What's ahead? What's the focus of it?
So the focus is also around Chinese queer immigrants and their subjectivity and how they understand their relationship with their Chineseness, Americanness, like immigrant experiences, and their queerness. And it's a very special and unique project because it's not only like interviews. Like I am having 4 sets of workshops, so like 8 workshops in total. I'm leading them to learn. We're reading like queer theory. We are reading queer theory. We're reading stories. We're watching movies together. We're having dialogues every week. We're talking about queer, about immigrant, about racism, about xenophobia, all of those topics concerning our society.
Wow. And certainly, obviously, you've got an approach of kind of content-based. Going back to the ESOL classroom, I know when my time teaching ESL was winding down, one of the big things that, and this was in Southern California at Long Beach City College, was in the classroom we had the ESL student, but we also had what was called a English for speakers with a second dialect. In other words, it was somebody who, typically an ESL textbook, a traditional one, now I am going to date myself here, would have, for example, somebody who did not grow up in this country. There'd be wow, look at this tradition known as the high school prom. Well, a second dialect learner grew up here, so, course content like that's not very meaningful. So I know in my case, exiting the classroom in roughly 2004, the second dialect learner was kind of the trend, if you will, at the time in terms of what was new. In terms of the ESOL classroom right now, how's it evolved and what's kind of new, or maybe not necessarily new, but really present in the horizon?
I think that's a very great question. I think now, like, the students are really have very diverse backgrounds, right? They're from all over the world and they have different immigration histories. And I think that's definitely very, very interesting, especially in California. Like, we're kind of like a safe, heaven for a lot of immigrants. I think that's why we have the diverse backgrounds. I think that's why I love teaching as well.
And how do you take that student experience and plug it into what you do in the classroom?
Right. Like, for example, we are reading our book and we're actually writing our first essay. And our first essay is a debate. So the prompt is, should an immigrant adopt an American name or not?
Oh,
what a fascinating prompt!
How are students responding? If you were to straw poll your class, what would the response be?
So the whole writing process starts with a debate, like classroom debate and brainstorming. So when so they have to defend the side, even though they don't align themselves with the side. But I guess for people who support the adoption of an American name, they really think about convenience. They're thinking about reduce a sense of difference, right? And for the other side, it talks about their connection to their roots, their own culture and history and ancestors. They're thinking about their future generations and how they can relate to their roots and culture.
Does anything inspire you about your students?
Oh, everything.
For example?
For example, just the stories that they share, because I encourage them to use their own examples in the essay. They're talking about how when, for example, one student said when I was telling people about my name, I just felt very embarrassed that everybody was pronouncing it wrong, and I had to disrupt people multiple times, and that really disrupted the conversation whatsoever. And that's very, very interesting. Even just my name, people always get my name wrong, that's okay. But for some people, that really kind of definitely not a great experience for some of the students.
So that's mainly the reason why they would consider adopting an American name.
Yeah, just sometimes when if they're presenting a very unique name to their American classmates and they get to ask a lot of questions, and that will really put them on the spot. Not everybody want to be on the spot, right?
Wow. Professor Ren, it has been such a pleasure to welcome you to the program today. Just real quick for our audience, how can they get in touch with you?
You can email me at yren@prada.edu.
Excellent. And just for our audience as well, if you're interested in the resources of the Laney College Queer Community Center, you can visit the Student Center, room 300, for just to visit and learn more.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'll go ahead and say farewell to our Peralta TV audience, radio listeners, and KTSF viewers. Go ahead and stick around because we do have a bonus 5 minutes ahead. All right. So, Randy, such a pleasure to have Professor Wren in studio and just to hear so much about the community, the Queer Community Center, as well as teaching ESOL. Just, was there anything that kind of stood out to you just during our conversation?
Actually, just now, what stood out to me was about the adopting American name. So my full name is Randall. So everybody assumes I'm a man. So it's like I've been in doctor's offices and they'll come out and be like, Randall, is he here? Or is it, it's just, so it's interesting to me that, like, yeah, that is annoying and it does disrupt the conversation and bring attention to, something I'm not talking about. So yeah, that was interesting to me.
Just back to my days teaching ESL, I had a number of students from Venezuela, and apparently in Venezuela, Rudy is a name a lot of women have.
Oh, really?
So yeah. It's kind of interesting.
My daughter's name is Michael.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Because we all have some unique names.
There you go. All right. Well, as we go on to our music feature of the program, certainly someone who is unique was Sinead O'Connor. And obviously, if we think of Sinead O'Connor, what's her most famous song?
Nothing Compares to You.
That's right. And may she rest in peace. Now, what a lot of people don't realize, and again, the focus of this feature is either famous person doing a song we didn't know they did, or a famous song sung by somebody who's not very famous. So actually, that was not her original song. And do you happen to know who the original singer is, Randy?
No.
Prince? There you go.
Yeah,
there, Prince. That's called show prep right there. I love it. Yeah. So anyway, for our audience, I'm going to go ahead and play Nothing Compares to You. We'll go ahead and play an excerpt from Prince, not Sinead O'Connor.
It's been 7 hours and 13 days since you took your love away. I go out every night and sleep all day since you took your love away. Since you've been gone, I can do whatever I want. I can see whomever I choose.
Wow. Gosh, I felt guilty turning the volume down on that. That guitar is unmistakably Prince. I mean, that is just,
sure.
And obviously he's passed on as well. Just Prince as an artist. Thoughts, Randy? Felicia?
My sister's favorite artist, so
Yeah.
he is mine, and I used to sneak and listen to Prince because he was he was kind of racy back when I was a kid, and my mom's like, no.
Yeah.
But I had everything that he ever produced, and I think I saw him in concert like 5 times.
I've seen him twice.
Well, here's a little tidbit that's interesting. And if you tune into the Professor of Rock on YouTube, you'll hear about this. Stevie Nicks, Fleetwood Mac, was working on a song solo called Stand Back. And apparently there was something about the melody of Prince's Little Red Corvette that she liked. And within the day, she called to Minnesota just to see about collaboration. He happened to be in Santa Monica or something, and within the day showed up in studio, and they played Stand Back. And if you ever play Little Red Corvette and then play Stand Back, you're going to see the melodies the same.
Oh, wow.
It's actually shocking. So anyway, all right, well.
Good bit of trivia.
All right, so you know what? Having Professor Wren starting the show with him and then finishing with Prince, I think this has been an amazing episode. And as we wrap up another edition of the President's Desk, we want to thank our listeners up and down the great state of California from the far north in the 717 and the 530, all the way to SoCal in 619, as well as our listeners right here in the entire Bay Area with thank you KTSF, but also right here in the 510, tuning in from Lake Merritt, Oakland Chinatown, downtown Oakland, West Oakland, East Lake, Fruitvale, Diamond, North Oakland, Adams Point, Central Oakland, East Oakland, the Oakland Hills, Montclair, Piedmont, and of course those right here on the Laney campus listening to us today. As we close up shop at the president's desk, straighten out the desk chairs and turn the light off on today's program. Randy, awesome job. Felicia, you're the best co-host ever. Take us home.
Absolutely. I would like to give a shout out to the Laney Queer Community Center. Thank you for tuning in to the President's Desk, a program available on radio and podcast hosted by Laney College President Dr. Rudy Besikoff. It airs each Wednesday at 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. on 96.9 FM KGPC. To listen to the podcast anytime, find us on kgpc969.org/programming/current shows and click on the President's Desk. If you have a suggestion for a future show, please email us at laneypodcast@peralta.edu.